Once upon a time when we were little kids, we were all masters in this field of happiness. We laughed and giggled for no reason at all. But things have changed over time. We're all adults now. Life has got us a little serious. We have many things to focus on in life right now, and our happiness has taken a back seat. In our society, we focus on pain before joy, tears before laughter, fear before love, and so gradually we grow blind to our inner, ever-present potential for happiness. In fact, every religion teaches us to be happy. In Buddhism, it is a causeless joy. In Christianity, it is the kingdom of heaven within. And in Judaism, it is called the ashray, an inner sense of holiness and health. In Islam, it is called falah, happiness and well-being. And in Hinduism, it is ananda, or pure bliss. Look into any ancient writing or teaching. Happiness has been one of the core subjects. Even though religion teaches us to be happy, and most people follow religions in their culture, why is it that there are so many people looking for happiness in our culture? Why are people looking for it like it's a commodity or something, instead of finding it within? Happiness must be felt within. It must be experienced and found within. All of us has a unique happiness blueprint. This blueprint contains our definition of happiness and unhappiness. This blueprint consists of beliefs, rules, and regulations for us to be happy. We weren't born with this blueprint. Instead, we developed it, and as we grew up, we picked up happiness clues and cues from other people. These are cultural cues known as status, prestige, and our society's several interpretations and depictions of a happy life from a consumerist point of view. We've been taught and programmed to seek happiness, find it in objects of consumption and high-cost brands. And as a result, humans have culturally conditioned themselves to pursue happiness, as if it's a reward that has to be found in the success of our jobs, wealth, and status, or in lifestyle. The reality is that our happiness blueprint is pretty much corrupted, and this serves us with more unhappiness than happiness. Our current blueprint has several conditions to be met. True joy or happiness does not have conditions. In fact, happiness has no conditions at all. What does our blueprint contain? It contains largely happiness myths that sabotage our human capacity to be happy. Happiness is not pleasure, although they can appear similar. Pleasure is enjoyment derived from an outside stimulus. Pleasure is the happiness of our five senses. It can be thrilling, warm, wet, funny, physical, sexual, exciting, deeply restful, and highly arousing. Pleasure is sensual and highly transient in that it quickly comes and goes. It is short-lived. Pleasure does not exist on its own. It must always have an external spark or stimulus, such as sound, aroma, or touch. Pleasure is also non-universal. That means the same stimulus does not elicit the same pleasure in everyone. Happiness, on the other hand, does not require any external stimuli to feel it. Happiness is a belief about yourself and the world outside. You can be doing something you normally experience as pleasurable, but not be happy. Pleasure is born from the external world, but happiness is born from the internal workings of our own mind. That's the big difference.
I think a lot of people have been coerced and conditioned into believing that happiness comes from pleasure, buying things, consuming things, going places. But when the novelty wears off, that feeling of emptiness typically comes back. And so I think when we start looking within, we start making our own personal changes, and we start overcoming ourselves. I think that when we're in the process of transformation and really breaking through, I think when we start respecting ourselves enough to be able to make that change, is when we begin to respect others, and I think the side effect of it is called wholeness or joy. And then you're no longer seduced by pleasure, as a matter of fact. The more whole you are, the less pleasure you need. And the more happy you are from within, when it's truly coming from within, then you no longer rely on anything outside of you. We can call that unconditional joy. And I think that intelligence that's giving us life can kind of find a crack and begin to leak out. And I think that that's our birthright. I think it's the natural state of being.
Now let's look at another distinction, contentment. Contentment is the happiness of the world. It's about life satisfaction. Contentment implies a mental judgment, usually favorable, about the contents of the world around you. For instance, I'm happy because my car no longer gives me trouble, or my body is in the right shape. Contentment always requires a because or a reason. But contentment is very fragile, for it hangs on how the world looks. Your contentment is threatened by different circumstances and changes. But happiness is affected by the inside world. It needs no reasons or conditions or any kind of sensory stimulations. So here are the clear distinctions between happiness, pleasure, and contentment. Pleasure is the happiness of the body. Contentment is the happiness of the world. Joy is the happiness of the spirit. Happiness requires no reason, no stimulus, no special conditions, and no controlled effort. It is spontaneously available to our spirit at all times. It's here, it's within, and it's happening right now. Happiness is an emotion. All emotions have causes, except for happiness. In truth, happiness is your true natural mental state. We are all born happy. Children are happy for no reason. It's part of their innate being. That's the way they are. Often you can catch a child laughing for the fun of laughing, smiling for the sake of smiling, playing and giggling for happiness and for no reason. Remember, happiness is your right and your responsibility.
Here is the fact, my friends. Nothing and nobody in this world is going to make you happy. The president of your country is not going to make you happy. Your spouse is not going to make you happy. Your boss is not going to make you happy. The only person in this world that's going to make you happy is you. And that's your choice, and that's your responsibility.
Ego is the #1 killer of human happiness since eternity. We all suffer from a highly critical condition of constant self-judgment. Our ego is the judge and the voice in our head that criticizes us. It punishes us with judgments, like, you're not good enough, nothing is ever enough, others have more, you can never have that, and so on. The ego punishes us with fears and asks us to look for peace outside. It makes all these rules that you do not deserve happiness. The ego's interpretation that happiness has to be deserved can lead to years of pain, suffering, guilt, and deception. The moment you believe happiness has to be deserved, you must toil forevermore. Ego never lets you enjoy what you have. The nature of the ego is to separate. It keeps the blessings away from you and keeps the cup of suffering close to you. It puts on a victim cap for you and then punishes you with guilt and helplessness. People who are very egoistic are unhappy individuals. Ego leeches away all that you can be happy about. That's why spirituality advocates the death of ego to free mankind from the slavery of unhappiness. The ego separates you from the source of all happiness, a consciousness of being. Ego is ever judging, the nagging noise in your head. The cycle of constant judgment can only end with self-acceptance and unconditional love.
I actually believe that for us to really be happy, we have to value our life. We have to value ourselves. And unless and until that we can actually value ourselves, I say self-love, but a lot of people are not comfortable with that term, loving ourselves. But I actually do think it's really important to love yourself, because loving yourself means that you value yourself, and it means that you feel you're deserving and you're worthy. Because when you don't feel that you're worthy or deserving of good things, you push them away. When they come your way, you do it unconsciously without realizing it, because you don't think you deserve them and you don't think you're worthy. And it becomes much harder to allow people to do good things for you, and it becomes harder to receive when you don't believe you're worthy or deserving. So the first thing I tell people is to ask themselves whether they love and value themselves. And that's, to me, that's the most important thing.
We deserve to be happy. Happiness is what we deserve, even if you're a sinner or a saint. Stop victimizing yourself. You can't be a victim and be happy at the same time. You can't judge, criticize, and beat yourself to stay happy. Ego may judge that you have made mistakes or committed sins in the past, but that isn't your identity. No matter how many mistakes you think you've made, you are not your mistakes. The process for undoing your self-judgment created by your ego involves forgiving yourself. True forgiveness is a self-healing process that gradually extends to everyone else. True happiness is an unforgettable experience when you forgive yourself and others completely. Resentment steals away your happiness. You can't be resentful and happy at the same time. Ego uses unhappiness as a means to manipulate and get things done by others. Right from the start, when we begin to cry as a baby, we're using these manipulations to satisfy our ego. Psychology researchers find time and time again that it's the depressed people and not the happy people who are intensely self-focused and self-absorbed. Happy people, by contrast, tend to be outgoing, sociable, generous, loving, and kind. They're also more tolerant, forgiving, and less judgmental than people who are depressed. Unhappiness is a result of self-absorption, the preoccupation of ego that is separating us from everything that is beautiful and enjoyable within us and outside of us. There is a world of difference between searching for happiness and choosing to be happy. Between searching and choosing, two worlds are born. You only search for what you do not have, for what you won't even acknowledge that you have. Searching is the denial of what you have. Choosing is accepting what you have already received. With self-acceptance, searching is over. You can choose to be happy and choose to be unhappy. Your innate nature is happiness. Being is the key to happiness. Being is a state when you give what you want. You are the giver and the receiver at the same time. If you want happiness, give happiness. Buddha said, "There is no way to happiness. Happiness is the way."
The key to happiness really is understanding that nothing in the world makes you happy. In fact, to ask the question, what makes me happy, that's going to set you off looking in all the wrong places right there. The world will not make you happy. It will encourage you to be happy. It offers encouragement, but it won't make you happy. That's your job. Until you choose happiness, the world will never be quite enough for you.
Nothing in the world can make you happy. Everything in the world can only encourage you to be happy. If you have happiness within you, then everything will encourage you to be happier. The sad thing is that people stay unhappy till they get what they want. They postpone their happiness. They want to be happy someday, the day they get what they want. They stay unhappy till they get what they want. They all forget the truth. Happiness is now. Happiness is not a destination. Happiness is the path. Happiness has no conditions. Happiness is a condition of mind. The more we pursue happiness, the more we forget to be happy. Happiness is not in things. Happiness is in you.
Don't try to be happy. Stop trying to be happy. The need to be happy is totally missing the point, because your mind is going to need justification to be happy. If you're trying to be happy, the mind becomes very active and it needs a reason why. And it's usually, I'm happy because. And true happiness appears to happen when you stop trying to be happy and you just bring your fullest attention to whatever you're doing in any given moment. And from there, you notice that you're happy, but you're not trying to be happy. See, trying to be happy creates this subtle separation between me and my happiness. But if I can let go of that need and come back into the present moment and learn to let this moment be enough as it is, give my fullest attention to whatever is happening right now, I notice I'm happy, and for me that is the most natural way to be.
The biggest myth we have about happiness is about how we attain it. It's treated as a commodity, or understood as the attaining of some kind of enlightenment or nirvana. As a result, we've adapted the most popular happiness model known as the if-then model. Billions of dollars are spent every year to popularize this if-then model of happiness through advertisements and seamless publicity that has made more messiahs in our society to sell happiness as a commodity. What is the famous if-then model for happiness? This is when you have a belief that says, if you have something, then you will be happy. If I get a new job, then I will be happy. If I lose some weight, then I will be happy. If I gain some weight, then I will be happy. If I exercise more, then I will be happy. If I get plastic surgery, then I will be happy. If I eat less, then I will be happy. If I eat more, then I will be happy. If I buy more clothes, then I will be happy. If I change my house, then I'll be happy. If I change myself, then I'll be happy. If I change my country, then I'll be happy, etc., etc., etc. The list is endless. We put so many conditions on being happy. Imagine what happens next. What happens after buying your dream car, getting your dream house? Ask anyone how happy they were after they got what they wanted. How long did that happiness last? Or ask them if it really made them happy. Ask yourself, what happened after you got what you thought would make you happier? Most of the things we think if we had them would make us happier don't. It's a myth. That means through accumulation, we would have grown happier and happier. With more, the happiness meter would have exploded. But that's just not true. The secret to living a happy life is not hidden from you. It's not cached in some recessed corner of your personality. It's not out there somewhere in the future, in some perfect job you have yet to find, or some goal you've not yet reached. Nor is it a random thing, tossed around haphazardly by the fates, or written in the stars. The secret to happiness is right in front of you. It's calling to you every day. It can be found in your emotional response to everything that is happening around you and within you at this very moment.